Hello, my beautiful souls. This is Ruby, and you're listening to Ruby Garnet Show. In case there are any accidental channeled messages, I'm not an LMC, doctor, financial, legal advisor. All choices are your own. You have this beautiful thing called free will. So just do your best, drop anything that doesn't feel right, doesn't feel good inside, doesn't resonate. It's okay to disagree with me for whatever reason. I'm not going to be upset by that, for the most part. I mean, my ego might be, but that's not a you thing. That's a me thing. That's something I have to work on, right? And so we are doing a bit of a mini series on Four of Pentacles. I don't know why. No, I do know why actually, because it won't go away. Like I've been having an ongoing conversation with Spirit, and I'll be having conversations with other people, and then boom, Spirit will point their finger and say like, I have Four of Pentacles, Four of Pentacles. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so it is a bit of an obsession at this point, but that's kind of this part of the show, is that we look at things in a different perspective, that maybe we have reflections, maybe it'll help you make a better, maybe it'll help you interpret a spread differently based on new information. And so, without giving too many details on a specific conversation, but there was a conversation that was had, and Spirit was like, and I'm like, And so, the heart of the conversation was about conditions placed in a relationship, which is really interesting because the Lovers card popped up, and that's about relationships, right? I mean, I don't know if it's specifically about what we're talking about, but like, if you see a card that represents relationships, like maybe like Three of Pentacles or Three of Cups, then you're like, oh, especially if it's reversed, man, or something, I don't know, like you see some other contextual clues from different cards, you might say, I think there's been some conditions placed on this relationship. Girl, like that's toxic. That's mad shit, man. Like, I mean, like it's not that anyone does it on purpose, because usually conditional relationships are based from like a trauma response. And as I've freely admitted in my own history about money, is I grew up where money was a form of power, and even of showing who was the most preferred individual, what I mean? Like, well, so and so was a good person, and good people get good things. You know what I mean? And that is, Four of Pentacles will usually indicate there's some level of like a need to control something. Maybe it's about money, but sometimes it might be about a materialistic item. Like, I'll give you an example. Materialism can reflect all kinds of things. It doesn't have to be money. It could be maybe a new phone, a car. It could be living arrangements. It could be, I'm trying to think. I'm really trying to give you so many different examples. Like, say someone, I used to do this with a credit card, buy gifts, buy clothing for someone that I thought was worse off than me, and it made me feel good, right? But also, too, it provided leverage. And I understand now as an older individual that as a more mature person that was toxic as F, like very toxic. And it was about power and control. And so as I've gotten older too, like I've kind of realized that when we place conditions on ourselves and the people around us, it is very harmful emotionally, but it's a very Four of Pentacles energy. Yeah. So if you see, like, I mean, Three of Pentacles usually, Three of Pentacles, it does include relationships like teamwork, collaboration. It's usually seen in terms of like professional relationships, while Three of Cups is like the sisterhood or the brotherhood, or someone like you have like really good synergy energy, like emotionally. So it's about maybe like you're like a sister or brother or really close friend, right? So, but you can see conditions in a work environment. You can see conditions seen in a relationship with a partner or a friend or a sibling or a parent, or even with your own child. You can see that. And it does occur, and if you have done it, you're not going to be the first one who's done it. If you've received conditions on you, you aren't going to be the first one who's experienced that, because I grew up with conditions set on me. Specifically, like I mentioned before, being a good person. And even on my preferred career path, I was basically led to believe that the right thing, the best thing to do was to go get a real job first, do well financially, then pursue my preferred career. That is a condition. That is Four of Pentacles energy. It says there's not enough money out there around you and myself and everyone out there, which means that, which is a bull crap. There's a shit ton of money out there. It's just that there's limitations, there's restrictions, there's control, there's power involved with it all. I'm going to try to wrap this up because I feel like this should be the last episode we do on Four of Pentacles. And I have a feeling we could still go on further. But it's like it comes to this point where, when is it enough? Why can't we just take this all away and throw it away? This is why I really struggle with Christmas, is that there's a conditional reciprocality bullshit thing about the holidays. Tit for tat. It's the reason why, until recently, I've only just recently allowed myself to pursue writing, because I'm like, I should go get that career. And it's only just recently I kind of realized that I am worthy and deserving of financial security and wellness. I mean, there is no right way. There is no right way in being a good human being. You're just trying all the time. And I worked with kids enough to know when children experience far too many conditions on them, it has this really bad impact on them where their self-worth goes down the shitter. And I remember talking to this kid, and he was so surprised that even though he had a tough day, and you know what I said to him? I said, you know what? Like, this is what I said to him. I said, you're the best. You're so amazing, kid. And he looked up surprised, looked at me like, really? You mean that? I'm like, yes. And he paused and he said, thank you. And then he looked down and continued doing what he was doing. And then I just chilled. I just sat with him emotionally, and we didn't talk a lot after that. But it made me sad because all the conditions in his life led him to believe he wasn't valuable or worthy or deserving. He wasn't good enough. He was plenty good enough. And this is sometimes the reason why sometimes it's really hard to be in childcare, because I understand that parents have it tough. I'm a parent too, and I understand that raising other people's babies is tough because ego sometimes leads the show. And we got to be careful with ego, especially as trauma is prevalent in this country. But there are days in the job where the conditions are placed on myself and on all these kids around you and me made me really badly want to be a writer even more. Because you're like thinking like, I've done everything I'm supposed to do that's supposedly correct in the right way of doing it. And it hasn't done me any good. And I don't see it doing any other person good. I don't see any evidence that has shown that these conditions actually lead to the outcome that we have been promised. There is no promised land. I mean, I don't know if you guys grew up with it, but some of us did. Like, some of us out there grew up with the stupid shit ass propaganda was go to a good college, get a real job, and everything will work out. And so we go shuffle to our state college or a private college, and we got all that debt, right? And we did the right thing. We went to school. We got a good job that didn't pay for nothing. You know, and those conditions were just false promises. And that's Four of Pentacles. False promises. Yeah, it just blew your mind, right? Because Four of Pentacles can look like a great many things when we stop and ponder so many different things. And this is why this show is the way it is. Why sometimes it's confusing. Sometimes it seems like we're in a labyrinth, right? Or a maze or something. It seems confusing, doesn't it? But when you've taken enough philosophy courses, I'm sorry guys, but this is philosophy at its finest. Because, and I used to hate taking philosophy courses. I hated them so much. You want to know why I hated philosophy courses? Because they didn't make sense, at least at first. No one likes taking philosophy courses because it seems there's a lot of terminology being used you don't always understand. Like, you know, one thing I will say about going to school is it forces you to use your mind, to think outside the box. Very often with philosophy, you have to think outside the box. You have to be able to pay attention and process and reflect and consider what things mean at a deeper level. So I want you to look at your relationships, including the ones with yourself. What are the conditions that you have placed on your life or have been told as a young person that you must meet in order to have a good life? Have these conditional promises been fulfilled? And if not, what have been the consequences of this in your life? What have you stopped doing because you didn't think that you were good enough to do it? And this is where we're going to wrap up, guys, because this is the last of the Four of Pentacles. I don't know what we're going to do next, but I'm going to ask Spirit to stop with the Four of Pentacles because it's just, I mean, at least for you guys. For me, Spirit's probably going to keep telling me, conditional, you know, they're going to say stuff like that. I'm like, okay, Spirit, we've been on this for a week and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. But for you, I'll cut you some slack. All right, may we meet and blessed be and happy holidays. Well, when I'm doing this is the holidays. You're like, when did the holidays ended like ages ago? Why is she still talking about the holidays? But may we meet, blessed be, amen, to good health and to losies.